Assalamu alaikum friends. In the name of Allah the most gracious, the most merciful. Welcome to this enlightening journey of knowledge and wisdom on our YouTube channel. Imagine a world where international borders no longer matter, where a neighboring nation can cross into another's territory at will, causing harm and chaos. Shocking, isn't it? This is the reality that was painted by a recent report from The Guardian, a reputable European newspaper. It detailed an incident where 20 Pakistani citizens were allegedly killed by Indians within Pakistan's borders. India's response to this news was swift, and came from none other than their defense minister, Rajnath Singh. In an interview with an Indian news network, News 18, he made a bold statement. He declared that if a terrorist from any neighboring country attempted to infiltrate India or engage in terrorist activities, they would not only be targeted in India, but if they fled to Pakistan, they would be pursued and killed there as well. This was a marked departure from India's previous policy of restraint, a change that was later confirmed by the defense minister himself. He asserted that India had the capability to carry out such operations, and that neighboring countries, specifically Pakistan, were beginning to understand this. Narendra Modi, the Indian Prime Minister, also endorsed this new approach, further emphasizing India's capacity to execute such missions. Pakistan, however, has a different perspective. It argues that India's actions violate its sovereignty as an independent nation. Pakistan's stance is that if India has grievances against any Pakistani citizen, it should address these grievances through diplomatic channels. This could involve raising the issue at an international level or sharing the information with Pakistan, which could then act according to its own laws. In an ideal world, this is the approach that should be taken. If there is a threat from a person residing in one country to another, evidence should be shared and legal action demanded. This is the mark of good neighbors. But the reality, as painted by The Guardian's report and acknowledged by the Indian Defense Minister, seems to be quite different. Pakistan's response to India's stance came from its defense minister, Khwaja Asif. He questioned the effectiveness of India's aggressive approach, citing a past incident where India had entered Pakistan for an investigation only to have their plane shot down. The question that remains is, why has India adopted this new, more aggressive strategy? And what are the potential consequences of such actions, especially in the context of an election? These are complex issues that continue to shape the geopolitical landscape of South Asia and the world. Have you ever wondered how politics can influence international relations, particularly between India and Pakistan? These neighboring nations have had a tumultuous history, a narrative punctuated by political tensions and border disputes. A prime example is the incident involving the capture of an Indian pilot, Abhinandan, by Pakistan. The pilot was later returned, but this event sparked a flurry of political reactions within Pakistan. While some viewed it as a demonstration of strength, others saw it as a sign of weakness. Intriguingly, these reactions varied greatly depending on the political climate and the individuals wielding power at the time. This shift in perspective underscores the influence of politics on international relations, painting a complex picture of how nations interact on the world stage. As we navigate through this narrative, we will uncover how political postures can shape the course of events. Now let's delve into how these political reactions differ based on who is in power. During Nawaz Sharif's time in power, the approach towards India was one of peace and apology. Nawaz Sharif, a man of calm disposition, always sought to maintain a peaceful relationship with India, even in the face of harsh accusations or actions. His mantra was clear: resolve disputes with tranquility, not turbulence. This approach was his signature style, his own unique political philosophy. Public opinion on Sharif's approach was, however, split down the middle. Some lauded his pacifistic stance as a positive, a beacon of hope in a turbulent geopolitical landscape. They saw it as a testament to his commitment to maintain stability in the region. Yet others perceived it as a sign of weakness, a negative that they believed undermined Pakistan's sovereignty and strength on the global stage. This approach, however, was not shared by the next leader. The era of peaceful resolution and apology was about to take a drastic turn. Imran Khan's approach to India was markedly different. When India ventured into Pakistan in 2019, and the Indian Air Force entered Pakistani airspace, Khan made a decisive move. The very next day, Pakistan crossed the border and entered disputed Kashmir. When the Indian planes gave chase, Pakistan shot down 2 of them. One fell within Pakistan's territory. The pilot, Abhinandan, was captured, interrogated, and then returned to India. This act of returning the pilot was seen by some as a sign of weakness. The Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, or PMLN, was especially critical. They accused Khan of showing fear in the face of adversity. Yet, it's interesting to note that when the same individuals find themselves in power, their rhetoric changes. They conveniently forget that it was during Khan's era that India was given a strong message. However, opinions seem to change when one transitions from opposition to power. Today, Khawaja Asif, once a critic of Imran Khan's actions, is in power. Interestingly, he no longer references the era of Imran Khan, when India was humbled, and their pilot was returned as a goodwill gesture. While he was quick to label the return of the Indian pilot as cowardice in the past, he now refrains from such remarks. He chooses instead to focus on his own government and defense minister. So it seems that perspectives can indeed change depending on whether one is in government or opposition. In conclusion, political opinions can be quite fluid. We've journeyed through different eras, noting the stark contrasts in reactions towards India's actions. From Nawaz Sharif's pacifist approach to Imran Khan's more assertive stance, and today's shifting perspectives, it's clear that the narrative changes based on who holds the reins. This isn't unique to Pakistan, it's a global political phenomenon. So the next time you hear a political statement, remember to consider the context and the speaker's position in power. Have you ever stopped to consider how the world of politics is constantly evolving and shifting? It's like a vast global chessboard, where countries are the players, each plotting their next move, adapting their strategies, and adjusting their policies in response to the ever-changing circumstances and challenges. This isn't a game of checkers where moves are predictable and outcomes are often certain. No, this is a complex game where the stakes are high and the rules are constantly changing. It's a game where the players must remain alert, responsive, and ready to adapt at a moment's notice. In this geopolitical arena, the landscape is never static. It's a dynamic and fluid environment, where today's ally can become tomorrow's adversary, where today's crisis can become tomorrow's opportunity. It's a space where the actions of one nation can send ripples across the globe, prompting reactions, counteractions, and sometimes even triggering a domino effect of events. Every country, big or small, plays its part in this grand geopolitical spectacle. Each has its own set of interests to protect, its own vision to realize, its own challenges to overcome. And each in its own way, contributes to the ever-changing political landscape. But change isn't just about reacting to the present, it's also about anticipating the future. It's about forecasting potential scenarios, preparing for possible threats, and seizing emerging opportunities. It's about staying one step ahead in the game, about being proactive, rather than merely reactive. In this ever-shifting political landscape, it's not enough to just keep up with the changes. To truly thrive, nations must also strive to shape the changes, to influence the course of events, to play a decisive role in shaping the future. And in this ever-changing game, one nation that's been making notable moves is India. So what exactly is India doing that's causing ripples across the globe? India, the world's largest democracy, has always been a key player on the international stage. But in recent years, India's political maneuvers have become more assertive, more strategic, and, some would argue, more controversial. These maneuvers are not isolated incidents, but rather part of a larger strategy. India is flexing its political muscle, asserting its influence in a way we've not seen before. This includes a significant push in its foreign policy, economic strategies, and defense tactics, all aimed at strengthening its position globally. India's political maneuvers are far-reaching and multifaceted. They involve everything from forging new alliances, strengthening existing partnerships, to even redefining its internal policies. This assertiveness is not just about playing a larger role on the global stage, but also about safeguarding its national interests. The reception to these maneuvers, however, is mixed. Some nations are applauding India's assertiveness, seeing it as a much-needed shakeup in the global order. They see India as a counterbalance to the existing power structures, a fresh voice that's not afraid to assert itself. However, not all reactions are positive. Some nations view India's maneuvers as aggressive, even intolerable. They point to certain actions that, they argue, breach international norms and principles. They claim that India's assertiveness could destabilize the region and, potentially, the world order. This is a complex, nuanced situation, and it's crucial to remember that in politics perception often matters as much as, if not more than, reality. What some see as assertive, others may see as aggressive. What some view as strategic, others may view as disruptive. But every action has a reaction, and India's moves are no exception. Let's turn our attention to Pakistan. What will be Pakistan's response to India's political maneuvers? This query has been the focal point of many geopolitical discussions lately, and it's not hard to see why. The intricate dance of power and influence between these two South Asian giants is far from a new phenomenon. With a history steeped in rivalry and conflict, each move on this geopolitical chessboard carries profound implications. In recent times, the stakes have escalated. A particular incident has sparked renewed tension, where an intrusion resulted in the loss of 20 lives on Pakistani soil. This incident, however, didn't end with the unfortunate loss. India, rather than denying the incident, owned up to it and even went on to threaten Pakistan. This audacious move has left many puzzled over what could possibly be Pakistan's next move. Pakistan's response thus far has been a mix of restraint and condemnation. The nation's leaders have expressed their outrage over the incident, denouncing it as a violation of their sovereignty. Yet, they've also shown a certain level of restraint, careful not to escalate the situation further. Nevertheless, the question remains, what is the best course of action for Pakistan? Should they retaliate in kind, or should they seek a diplomatic resolution? The answer to this isn't simple. It's a complex equation, one that involves national pride, geopolitical strategy, and the delicate balance of power in South Asia. There's also an undercurrent of uncertainty. Will Pakistan's response be confined to the political arena, or will it spill over into the military domain? After all, the incident in question did result in the loss of lives. It's a difficult decision to make, and one that will undoubtedly have far-reaching consequences. And so, the world watches on, waiting to see how Pakistan responds. Will they rise to the occasion, meeting aggression with aggression, or will they choose the path of diplomacy, seeking to de-escalate the situation? The big question remains, how will Pakistan practically respond to these threats? As we wait to see how this situation unfolds, we are left with numerous questions. Politics, after all, is an ever-changing landscape, and the recent maneuvers by India have certainly stirred the pot. Pakistan's response could take many forms, reflecting the complexity of international relations. Will it choose to retaliate, negotiate, or perhaps chart a new course entirely? In the intricate dance of international politics, only time will reveal the next move. Until then, we watch